Hello, good evening. My name is Loureiro, and I work as PH Resort CEO, developing an integrated resort and the associated online strategy in the Philippines. I have the pleasure of hosting today the panel about the future of the social casino and where does the live casino fit with the online-offline experience. We have a great group of business leaders and experienced executives to help us to go through these topics. Let me introduce first to Mr. Kresimir Spajic, SVP and MD of online gaming and sports betting at Harel International. Mr. Montgomery, CEO for First Maximilian Associates and board chair of Gameco. Mr. Falk, Vice President of Sales and Business Development at Solitics. And Mr. Americo Loureiro, Director of Solverde Casinos and Hotels. So let's start with the conversation. Mr. Spajic, in your opinion, where social casino fits in the gaming universe from brick and mortars and online mobile operators and customers' point of view?
Thank you, Angel, for introduction, and thank you for the question. I'll just start a bit by introducing the company that I work for. So I work for Harel International. It's a global corporation operating in 75 countries with 270 physical venues in these countries. And we operate in multiple verticals. We operate in casino industry, in hotel industry, and in restaurant industry. And I joined the company 5 years ago, where I run Hard Rock Digital, which is a venture that runs all digital business and retail sports betting as well. When it comes to the social casino, I would say it's a relatively novel product, a novel movement in this industry. Started 5 years ago, getting into the scene. And you can look at it from two perspectives. One, where you have a pure social casino companies which are focusing on monetizing this product globally and targeting a target audience, which is a more casual gamer and social audience. And the best in the industry and the most successful companies is Playtika, which holds around 20-30% of the global market share. And then you can look at it from a different perspective, from a secondary perspective, which is kind of an extension of your brick and mortar operation, an engagement tool for your customers which are not visiting your physical properties. I would say that when it comes to the Hard Rock, taking into consideration our global presence, we are somewhere in between. We started with social casino as an engagement tool for our brick and mortar audience where they couldn't visit our properties. And we learned a lot. We actually learned that the customers, which are both our brick and mortar customers and social casino customers, are actually worth 14 to 15% more in the brick and mortar business. They also visit more frequently our brick and mortar business, and the correct number that we gained in the last 2-3 years is 18% higher frequency of visitation. The second thing, it's a great communication tool for us with all the possibilities that social casino has. By being constantly on your mobile phone, we can communicate different kinds of promotions and incentives to our customers via push messaging and other tools. So for us, social casino is definitely another touch point with our customers, a very, very important engagement tool, but taking into consideration our size of a business is becoming also a standalone, profitable, and a sizable business.
Thank you very much, Mr. Spajic. Quite interesting. No? Mr. Montgomery, in terms of demographics, no, what do you see as the best practices in terms of player-centric strategies, not to attract and maintain the GenX and millennial players, no? And how these strategies relate to social casino?
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate the introduction, and Kresimir, I thank you for those comments because that gives us a really good sort of entry into some words I would have to say. I'm Robert Montgomery. I'm one of the co-founders and chairman of Gameco, which is a player-centric company focused on providing skill-based and skill-influenced games to new and incremental customers in casinos, both land-based, digital, and retail. And so we're very excited to be in this pioneering space of new and differentiated product that enables this next generation of regulated gamers to move to the fore. Also, we're principally operating, when I speak from a Gameco perspective, in the North American market, although we have partners and operations outside of North America. But I would say our retail and digital footprint is primarily North American. And so this is a different and evolving and developing market. People who are involved in Europe or in Asia or in other markets have different market circumstances than we're seeing here. There's a lot of folks who would suggest that the North American market, as it evolves and develops, is going to potentially develop differently than some of the markets in other parts of the world have developed. But what we've seen, and I know we're going to talk about live dealer in this session as well, but from a social casino perspective, this really paves the way for the importance of social casino and how that flows through, perhaps in a way that Kresimir was alluding to people who are engaging in other gaming products. It's, we're all familiar with what's happened in the affiliate world and how that's evolved and developed. Well, from our perspective, one of the most important things that we need to figure out is how to innovate and provide successful regulated gaming products for the change in demography. One of the Wall Street analysts suggested that the US iGaming and sports betting market will be a $30 billion market by 2030. So you have to think about what constitutes the component parts of that $30 billion. Well, it's going to be in the main sports betting and iGaming, but the question is, will those customers play slots in the main as the casino games, or are they looking for other kinds of experiences that are more relevant to the video game generation that's maturing and coming into the market and engages with their needs and wants? And to that extent, social gaming and video gaming and other mediums provide a sort of entryway to bring those people through the market as incremental new customers in gaming. And social gaming and the signals that it provides to operators like Hard Rock and others is incredibly important on that journey, and as Kresimir said, can be a profit center in and of itself, but is also really significant in terms of being able to provide a North Star to bringing a different and differentiated product through the vein into the regulated space.
Thank you, Mr. Montgomery. Mr. Falk, how can you see the brick and mortar casinos benefit from the social and online gaming? And also, what's the main difference between the traditional and online versus the social gaming?
So as far as first of all, I want to thank Mr. Montgomery for what he said. I think that's something that he brought up a number of points that I personally and here at the company we think alike on and agree on. First of all, to introduce myself and my company. So I'm Harel Falk. I head up the sales and business development here at Solitics. Solitics is a data management platform and an automation company. We work primarily in the online gaming industry and enable companies to utilize all their data, no matter how distributed it is, the raw data, for a number of purposes, one of which is personalization and automation of the customer experience, starting from conversion and onwards. And on top of that, we provide additional products such as BI as a service with all the data ready to go, with data warehouse and so on. As far as the I think the brick and mortar versus online and how the brick and mortar can benefit from that. I think that there's a natural evolution today of the players and the target audience that is looking for new and exciting places to be engaged in and new places to play. I think there's also an additional opportunity here for brick and mortar establishments to basically expand their reach, to extend from outside those walls and go into the online and increase the engagement and keep the players engaged. This is further strengthened by COVID-19, which has forced a lot of the existing players today that are used to going to those brick and mortars to go and start playing online, finding new outlets to utilize. So I think that brick and mortars have to start designing and building their own online games and social games in order to ensure that that experience that their players are having goes out of the brick and mortar casinos, and they can keep their players engaged in that sense. Imagine, for example, a player playing at a casino, then going up to the hotel room or going home and being able to continue playing in one way or another, or keeping the engagement going, which is something that is it's crucial in order to increase the revenues and also to increase the stickiness as well. I think this is one of the reasons that we're seeing today live dealers online. It's in order to get that experience out of those walls and into the online. And the data here is a key factor, and I think that's something that needs to be discussed. And this is something that we do. We help connect that offline and online data into so that operators can create that seamless experience and continue that experience outside of the brick and mortar. Also, I think it's a good way. This can go both ways. So imagine a world. Imagine that you can be earning awards during a game and being able to use those awards the next time you come back to the casino, or maybe even have to come back in order to use them. It just creates an enormous amount of stickiness. Specifically regarding social, I think one of the main differences is just the level of engagement. It's become something that's much more exciting. There's a lot more gamification and just a whole world of new incentives that's on there. I think it's much more advanced. I think that it's something that's starting to seep back into the online world. We're probably going to see that grow immensely over the coming few years or so.
Thank you, Harel. And Mr. Loureiro, following that line of thinking, can you please give us your perspective regarding the integration of the land-based and online? And also, I'm based in the Philippines here. The live gaming has some business market, obviously for export, through the POGOs. But in your experience, how important, is the live dealer in terms of customer segmentation?
Yes, and thank you. So I start to introduce myself. My name is Americo, and I've been working in Solverde Group for more than 15 years in the management of land-based casinos. Solverde Group, it's a group that run casinos in Portugal and employees more than 1,500 employees. So in the last 5 years, I start the challenging task to bring those two worlds together, creating online, building up strategies, and merge them into land-based. So I've verified over the last few years that the experience of joining these two worlds is unparalleled and very challenging. In the last years of experience, I find that online management is very demanding and implies knowledge of different technologies, and require us to always be at the forefront of innovation. So the use of technologies such as machine learning is carried out in the preference of players. Marketing plans are more demanding, and assessment and decision-making is more frequent. In land-based casinos, on the other hand, product knowledge, customer preference, entertainment are more relevant, and the social aspect as well. So thus, we can bring contributions from both sides, innovation on online and acknowledge of land-based, omni-channel strategy, and making a gaming experience as seamless as possible architectures. Contribute to this, the use of the same brand, the use of the same type of products that customers of physical casinos are accustomed to, same loyalty plan, as Harel mentioned, cross promotions and player benefits are key factors. So product is key. We realize that customers from online are on the age group of 25-35. They are get used to esports. They are get used to gaming. Land-based customers, they are on the average of 45-54 years old. However, the most valued customers are 45-54 in both channels. So we found on the 4 years of online operations, of 25% of our physical casino customers had opened an online account, and 12% of online customers had visited Solverde physical casinos. This is very relevant to renewing physical casino customers. Gradually, customers start to migrate from one site to another. So Live Dealer fits perfectly here on this product strategy. Slots, as Gameco, is always important to have, to bring those two worlds together. So in summary, the goal is to bring more customers to the same brand, no matter if they are online or land-based. In the end, only exist customers.
Thank you, Americo. I believe we are very lucky today in the sense that we got representatives from 3 different continents, from different parts of the world. No? So in that sense, Mr. Spajic, what about the USA? What about the United States? How you see the growth and the development of these products that we are talking, and usually of the social gaming, but also the live tables, and live slots marketing.
Sure. I mean, from a customer perspective, one of the most important attributes for gaming products and gaming operators is trust. And Live Dealer basically is an exemplary of that attribute, trust, because you see what is going on, you communicate with the person, and you have a perception that this is a real casino experience. And I think that's why this product is extremely important as a part of the overall product mix. When it comes to the US, we waited quite a bit for this product to come into the US. I mean, Live Dealer just entered the US market approximately 2 years ago in New Jersey. And the main reason for this is complicated regulatory and technical requirements, where in order to run a Live Dealer studio, you actually have to have your technology within the state borders, and all employees have to operate actually within the casino properties. So this makes it quite expensive and quite complicated to run, and that's why we waited for so long for this to be introduced. However, since the introduction, and there are currently a couple of companies operating in the US, with the Live Dealer, with one being dominant, which is Evolution, which is also a market leader, is that adoption was extremely quick, right? So today we are talking about Live Dealer making between 15 to 20% of the total gaming revenues, online gaming revenues in the market. And that number is slowly but steadily growing up. And the total table games basically and other products makes approximately 30% of the total revenue, while 70% is slots. And if you see, this is actually a quite good reflection of what is happening also on the brick and mortar side, because if you look at the brick and mortar side in the US, in the markets which offer both table games and slots, the split is also 70-30. What I'm though seeing that is happening, that the introduction of the sports and sports betting and sports first brand is actually further growing the table game category, and especially the live tables game category. So if you look at the split of revenue coming from sports betting brand, first sports betting brands and their casino revenues, you're gonna see that they have a much higher proportion of table game revenues than casino first brands, which have a lower portion of table game revenue, especially the Live Dealer. So overall, this addition of this category has been quite exciting. We are hoping that we are going to see some more suppliers into the market. We are also hoping that there will be some regulatory easing when it comes to technological and regulatory requirements in regards to this product, which will help to further grow this category. I would like to add one more thing. In February, Hard Rock has worked with an Israeli company to launch the first time a product which we call Live Slots, which does similar what Live Dealers does. We actually are broadcasting live slot machines from our casino floor, which you are able to control and play remotely. We are the only one currently in the world able to use this product, and this has been a great success for us. We see a high adoption among the players, especially from brick and mortar players, which lack a bit of trust when it comes to the online product. And this is kind of a way to transition them to playing this product. This has extremely been helpful during the COVID times, where players couldn't visit the casino and they were looking for engagement that they like and type of entertainment they like. And definitely our live slots help us to attract those customers and maintain those customers during this difficult time.
I'm sure the regulators will be very, very interested in that kind of products. Any, as a curiosity, any specific demographic groups when we are talking about the live gaming in the United States that you were able to identify that are more prone to
no, really, it's all over the board. We don't see much of a differences in usage in terms when it comes to age or any other kind of geographical or demographical differences. I think that just people like to play live product, and I think that what helped us spread out of the live product is technology. Right? When this product was first launched 10 years ago, the bandwidth and everything was very, very slow and the experience was very poor. Now, I'll give you an example. Delay in our live slots product is only 1.2 seconds. I mean, you couldn't imagine this before. Even the TV channels, when they broadcast their programming, usually broadcast between 4 to 7 seconds of delay. We've been able to lower this to 1.2 seconds. So I think that the overall experience is much better for a consumer, and I expect only this category to grow further. But what I said, typically for live slots products, we see actually higher adoption of our brick and mortar customers. We have a very unique omni-channel experience for our customers, both connected with what we call social casino and real money casino, where customers, we call this single sign-up, single loyalty program, and single wallet. So what does this mean? The customers who sign up either on a brick and mortar site or an online site or a social site gets one account for all three products, and they can move and switch between these accounts. And then the second thing, they also can earn loyalty points in all of three channels. And what we are introducing now for the first time in New Jersey is single wallet, where customers actually can use their digital wallet and transfer money directly on the floor to a slot machines, and then withdraw money from a slot machine to a wallet. So there is definitely this immersion between the different products and the different channels. And for us as an operator, having a single view of our customers and being able to reward the customer through all of these product verticals that we are participating in is extremely important, because you have some customers which would be a VIP level either on a real money gaming or a social side. But if this is not connected and you don't have a single view of our customers, you're going to mistreat them when they occasionally go and play some other verticals. So this is something that we have been heavily focusing on, and we are quite happy with the results. What we are seeing once we started treating customers from a single point of view.
Thank you, Mr. Spajic. Mr. Montgomery, what's your views on this regard? There's anything in particular that has been calling your attention lately, in terms of game innovations and experiences?
So this is all, in my view, this is all really good news. I mean, what I'm familiar with the company Kresimir is speaking of doing the live slots, and I laud you in doing that. And I think that these are great evolutions and developments. And what Kresimir says about the live dealer, where you have to be in each state and being regulatory compliant, obviously extremely important, even within the cost implications that has. People are still coming to market and competing. And of course, Evo are the gorilla in this space, but there's other companies who are evolving and developing. Playgon comes to mind in live dealer. So what we're seeing with the opening up of the market gradually, with sports betting begetting iGaming, is a real opportunity for entrepreneurial companies. And Harel, that includes data businesses and all kinds of companies that can see an opportunity in the North American market that previously were unable to. And we've seen that in some of the corporate transactions that have come to light, GAN buying CoolBet and so on. And there's other things that are happening that are allowing the world to come and participate in the US market. But also the attitudes of many people in the market are much more pro-innovation than they ever used to be. So the land-based business, it's fair to say, is probably a more conservative business. But once you get into digital, people are used to looking at, cost of customer acquisition, lifetime value, other metrics that often in a land-based vernacular are not having the same emphasis in terms of how the thinking about the business proceeds. And that actually, a lot of that comes from, different marketing businesses that support the growth of digital, not just gaming, but it's welcome for everyone that conversation is now part of gaming, and the ability to understand, risking capital on products, whether it's from an operator or an investor perspective, and getting a return, that opens the way for innovation. And I think that also helps everyone, whether it's a new company or whether it's a non-US product provider, to understand what the investment needs to be and what their return can be in tandem with other parts of the value chain, including operators. And I think that the demand that we see developing and evolving is going to, on the part of GenX and millennial customers, is going to work in tandem with the interest entrepreneurial companies, as well as the entrepreneurial sides of current strategics have for putting new products to the fore. Gameco, for example, has an esports betting product that it's bringing to market, which is a best of breed solution from all over the world that's been put together for the US market and is achieving incredible traction. It's because you're using the experience from existing markets and combining it with entrepreneurial flair and localized solutions that people really need to pay attention to. So what Kresimir is doing in live slots and what a lot of people are working with at the margins is really creating evidence for products to be able to succeed. And as regulated markets open up, and as the iGaming market really evolves and develops in the US on the back of sports betting, I think we're going to see a lot of interesting developments of critical mass, because as many of us know, the sports betting business is sometimes thought of as a loss leader for casino games. And if that's the case, we could be, really developing an interesting era in the US for global participation and entrepreneurialism.
Really interesting. No, for me, it's absolutely fascinating, to see again how each different part of the world got a different approach, to this process. I go back to the local case here in the Philippines where we got live gaming for almost as a decade, and with with a big impact, huge impact. But obviously that's because the proper ways to do gaming in Asia. Mr. Falk, we've been talking a lot about data. This word came a lot during this conversation. So, from your point of view, what are the best ways to generate a seamless user experience between the online and land-based? And in that sense, how important is the data in this process?
First of all, I think that I can only speak to a certain amount of ways to create a seamless experience between online and land-based, and there giving Mr. Montgomery and Mr. Spajic have brought up a number of interesting ways to do that, and which are great and original. You can use. I think it's important, first of all, to use your players' trusts, create a familiar and sort of like the place, what they're used to, the games or the elements that they're used to, whether it's in the offline and online, make sure those are combined. You want to make sure that you're using elements that in both the land-based brick and mortar and the online. You want to make sure that you're combining the elements, driving them from one to the other, so that when they're not on-prem, they're going and playing there because it's worth it for them, and creating exciting new incentives for them to do that. And that, as mentioned before, that should go both ways. And I think, and we see, as a matter of fact, that while there's a lot of creativity out there as far as how to create that seamless experience, and whether it's new games or new types of bonuses or incentives and so on, I think that we're seeing that the biggest factors here are, the level of personalization, how the person feels, and making sure that he gets addressed as far as that it's in accordance with the way he plays and behaves. And that's something that is a big factor here. And I think that another thing we're seeing here is that it's becoming a huge technological challenge in the sense of the data layer. So bringing in new suppliers and new games and so on, I think it's a given, and it's something that all operators are trying to do today and differentiate themselves. But the layer that is still a big issue, and something that we actually solve for them, is that data layer. Data is the key here. It's the key for the automation. It's the key for the personalization. It's telling Mr. Smith once he leaves, as soon as he logs on the app, knowing that he just played so-and-so games, that he's earned so-and-so rewards, and now he can use them in the app. And if he does X, he can then go back, when he comes back into the brick and mortar, and utilize them to do something else. Data here is everything. Data, and being able to utilize that data specifically in real time. What is needed in order to create that seamless experience as far as the data is concerned is connecting all that data in one place and utilizing it in real time. Then once you have that ability, working with all that distributed data, you can do exactly what I said, whether it's combining the elements from the offline and online, creating incentives that go both ways, responding to them in real time, and making sure that they're happy, and making sure that they don't leave, and you want to prevent churn, and so on. So this is the data and responding in real time, I think, is what can get you to create an insane amount of stickiness, and then combine it with all the various tactics and products and technologies that are growing and expanding today.
Thank you for your views on this. No, Mr. Loureiro, or Mr. Loureiro, I think this year obviously is the year of the pandemic. Unfortunately, it seems that in Europe and US, is going strong back again. Here in Asia, the situation maybe is a little better, but obviously we pay a high price in terms of restrictions. Before, you were giving some numbers in terms of how the online business grow during the pandemic. But what's your views in that regard? Do you think that these customers that migrate, they will stay, or they will go back to their previous situation? What's your perception on this?
Yes, thank you. This is a very interesting question, and very actual. So, in fact, during the pandemic in Europe, then the lockdown starts in March, and the physical casinos, they closed. So we've been obliged to close physical casinos, which is completely understandable. The lack of sports betting events, what we see, and it's all around the world, it's an increasing on online gaming, on casino online gaming. Customers are looking for entertainment, and this is completely acceptable. So what we did is we need to attract and retain our land-based customers, because online it's increasing 5 times number of registrations, and the number of the revenue is only 3 months, but in Portugal it increased 60%. There is no sports betting events. And what we did, we use data, as Harel mentioned. Data is also the key for this. So we try to attract land-based customers, calling those customers, and send a message with a specific slot they are get used to play, and that attract land-based customers to open an online account. We realized that after that, they migrate to different slots, and they stay playing online. After the lockdown, we're talking about July, physical casinos, they open with restrictions imposed by COVID-19, completely acceptable. And we realized that the customers with 65 years old, more than 65 years old, a significant part of those customers, they didn't come back. They probably stay at home safer. But under the 65 years old, they return to physical casinos. They are looking for social interaction, and they are looking to the live experience. But the funny factor is that they still continue and playing online. So what we realize is that the customers, they still playing land-based. They have more time land-based. Sometimes they spend more, but when they go out, they still continue an entertainment online, in our online platform. And this data is very important, as Harel mentioned, to send in real time, but at the correct time to send them the offer, to send them the push. Continue your experience online. It doesn't matter if it is online or land-based. The important thing is to provide the customer the same experience. And right now, the casinos, the physical casinos are decreasing 80%. New restrictions are imposed right now. Things are under control. But I strongly believe, based on data, that after that situation ends, the pandemic ends, hope sooner than later, the customers, they will return to land-based casinos even more and with more interest to play, because they are looking for social interaction, and the only way to get it is in land-based casinos, because they can only provide a true experience.
Thank you, Mr. Loureiro. No? In the case of Hard Rock, Mr. Spajic, can imagine, no, that obviously the impact of COVID is being very important.
Yeah, Angel, from I would say from a business perspective, the biggest impact came from acceleration of a digital consumption. I mean, we see this across the board, but I would say that the biggest difference is that acceleration of the digital consumption also yielded the willingness of consumers to actually transact digitally, to spend money digitally. The consumption was high before as well. Now it's much more higher. But there was always these barriers actually to spend money digitally. Just from a pure necessity, customers are spending more money digitally, from simple shopping, being this grocery shopping or whichever kind of shopping, to actually paying for different types of entertainment digitally. So this is definitely a biggest difference that we are seeing. And when it comes to us specifically, if you look at from brick and mortar business perspective, it has been extremely difficult to us to operate. But what we did, we actually improved our operational efficiencies. We learned about our business, and we are looking at actually getting rid of some of the wastage, which we never considered before. So we definitely are becoming a smarter operator because of that. When it comes to the digital, and especially specifically to digital gaming, of course, during these 3 months of complete closure in United States, our results on the casino side spiked dramatically, 100% or so. And what Mr. Loureiro said, we are actually now, when the casinos are back and open, we are not seeing that consumption being reduced, slightly reduced, but not significantly reduced. And I believe that this digital consumption is here to stay.
Of course. In your case, Robert, also any feedback from you regarding the COVID impact on your specific business?
Well, I mean, specifically, I mean, at the beginning of COVID, a lot of people who were in the land, I mean, if I speak from the perspective of Gameco is in both land-based and digital. Obviously, the closure of casinos and, operators like Americo and Kresimir can speak to this. A lot of casinos, with the exception of things like the live slots we spoke about, had a conservative approach to new products. I think that's going to change with the vaccine and with the opening up, and that may provide a fill-up or a great opportunity for new customers. There may be a latent demand to call upon. I think per the comments Kresimir made just now, the sustainable digital demand is there and is going to continue to grow in parallel. And it's a great luxury to have a uniform customer view like you both do, which is really a awesome opportunity. Also, for anyone who's providing products, they can be able to have more clarity about your own ability to be successful with them and support that. But also the ability to provide omni-channel products that are relayed around a customer strategy is now available to the provider of products as well as to the operator. So those things are extremely important. But look, we've seen some trends in digital gaming that are very, very strong. And the COVID has, I think, really just accelerated what was already in place from what I can see in an overall basis. But I think as the market gets more mature and smarter about how to serve the demand that's there, and as regulatory aspects of the business evolve and develop more parameters around certain markets, but more opportunities in others, it's something that we as an industry, I think, have a lot of tools to be able to contend with. So look, I think it's going to be a really exciting year because nothing is better than having digital strong and making progress, and the land-based retail opportunity continuing to grow and develop in a normalized way post the settling down, hopefully, of this COVID. So I think we as an industry have a really bright future, and it's exciting to be part of this discussion about social and live dealer and really innovation, because I think that's one of the things that gives everyone energy is what's new and next, and how do we appease this next generation of players, whether they're into esports or video games or other things that we can productize around in a regulated gaming environment. This is exciting.
Absolutely, and I think that's everybody's focus, on how to keep providing, the player experiences and how to adjust, to the new demographics, as you mentioned at the beginning. Harel, I don't know if in your case, is there any views regarding COVID? There's been any specific impact, on your line of business?
I think we have here at Solitics, we have a very wide perspective of the online and even the offline landscape. As we've seen once the pandemic started, we've seen just a very, very strong increase in the online activity. A lot of new registrations, a lot of new players coming in and engaging and so on. And that has forced a lot of the legacy operators, especially brick and mortars, to reinvent themselves and start going online. So that was something that we've seen happen over the past few months. Now that there's sort of like activity coming back to the land-based casinos, I think that we're going to see a sort of a reinvention, or let's call it the development of the habits. The brick and mortar is going to be much more involved in the online, and the onlines themselves are going to try and find ways of keeping those players engaged and keeping them coming back to the online and not just going back to the brick and mortar. And we see the ones that have done something about it over the past few months. We're seeing them reap the rewards now. So it's going to be very interesting. It's definitely 2020 and 2021 are going to be very let's call it exciting for the future, and innovation is a big part of it.
Absolutely. So, well, I think we covered a lot of ground today. I don't know if there's anything else relevant that we forgot to mention. If any of you wants to make any comments.
I just want to add that I hope the vaccines, we're expecting them as sooner than later, because what we are realizing since September, it's a decreasing in the economy, and it also reflects on the player behavior. They still active, have more active players, but they spend less, which is completely natural. So we hope that in the next World Gaming Executive Summit, I hope in Barcelona, we could be discussing that is something that is behind, and is solved, and we are focused on the future to bring again together land-based and online business.
Absolutely, Americo. I mean, I think all crises, they have a beginning, medium, and end, and hopefully we're start looking at the end of this one. Of course, there's going to be a there is an impact on the available disposable income of the players, but no question that with this crisis is also means an acceleration on the processes from a regulatory point of view, from a technological point of view, from an integration point of view of the land-based and online. Well, I think it's been an absolutely amazing talk. Thank you very much, everybody, for your time, and I hope to see all of you in Barcelona next year. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Angel. Thanks, Sam and WGES.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.